Hello and welcome to the first scouting report of this season. With me is Connor or Hoopsa, as he's otherwise known. Thanks for joining me.
No problem. Nice to be here.
This is our first scouting report. I've got to play you Aaron. I think Aaron was trying to, nice is one way of putting it. I think Aaron was trying to find something with AI, and he found that, and it was so bad that he just thought it was too good to pass up. And that's not. I'm gonna have to listen to that another sort of 30 times this season, I imagine. So I can only apologise to our listeners for having to hear that every time, and to you. How's it going? How have you felt after the first couple of games of this season?
Yeah, no, it's good. Cheers. It's been a bit of a mix so far. I think West Brom 3-1 loss at home on the first day was a bit disappointing. Not necessarily at the result itself. I think West Brom, very good side, one of the best managers in the league in the playoffs last season. I suspect they'll be up there once again. But the goals that they scored sort of came from our own defensive kind of frailties. Which was a real shame after having such a good defence under Martí Cifuentes in the second half of last season. So that one was a bit of a disappointing start on. Made it right with a good result at Cambridge in the League Cup a few days later, although we really tried to throw that one away, the 2-1, sort of all over him for the first 20 minutes, and then really sat back and were lucky to hold on, to be honest. And then, Saturday was, a tale of two halves, really. The first half looked like Sheffield United were probably going to end the match with sort of 4 or 5 after scoring 2 in the opening 13 minutes. But then produced a brilliant comeback in the second half with sort of 2 new signings, Karamoko Dembele and Koki Saito, both getting an assist each on their debut and giving us hopefully a sign of things to come. So, we've had all the emotions so far.
Yeah, it looks quite an impressive result on its own. The one against Sheffield United. Do you think you're going to carry that kind of form? And you mentioned some of the new players that you've signed. They've also got a new centre forward. I'm correct, am I in saying that he started the first game? What are the new side? Obviously, Karamoko Dembele seems exciting, but how do the fans rate the transfer business this summer? Obviously, you've got Martí Cifuentes still in charge, but do you think that the squad's stronger this time around?
It's interesting. I think we rate the signings that we've brought in. Obviously, the 2 wingers. New forward Jean Seller from Lugano comes in with a really good kind of scoring record there. We brought in a new right back, Haverton Santos, centre back Liam Morrison. It's all been good business, but they're all players that, and I think this is the good and bad side of it. Not really anyone knows what they're like, and most of them have never played in the Championship or even England. So it's quite exciting in some senses because you don't really know what to expect. But on the flip side, as we've seen over these few games with the players that have been involved, new goalkeeper Paul Nardi, it could well take these players, months, if not half a season, a whole season, to even get used to this league. Another good example of that is a central defensive midfielder we brought in, Jonathan Varane. And he looked really promising in a sort of 20-minute cameo against West Brom, and showed flashes of kind of talent against Cambridge, but then sort of really shrunk from the game and was really lackluster against Sheffield United, and looked like he was really struggling with the physicality of this level. So all of the business we've done looks really sensible on paper, and you can really see the kind of reasoning behind picking those players. But I think we're going to have to be really patient with them all. So, but yeah, obviously Dembele and Saito, really made their impact known on Saturday, and I think that's really excited the fans for what's to come.
So it's a good time to be playing you then, while you're still working out your best 11. So that's what you're trying to say, yeah? With trying to encourage us and get our hopes up before you smash
E-
us on the weekend.
exactly.
What are your thoughts for the weekend? How are you set up to play? Same as last season?
Yeah, we started with a similar shape to what we brought in under Marty. So it's a 4-2-3-1. Um, but as I said, with West Brom in particular in the second half against Sheffield United, we've not sort of carried on from where we left off with the defence being very resolute and really building from the back. We've actually looked a complete mess at the back, and thankfully that got sort of sorted out in the second half against Sheffield United. But that one's a bit of a confusing one because the only thing that's changed is the keeper. And weirdly, despite conceding, 5 goals in the 2 league games so far, I can't really blame any of them on the goalkeeper. So what's quite going on with that back line, I'm not really sure. Of probably bigger concern to me is the central midfield, is the sort of 2 defensive midfielders in front of the back line. Not really gelling so far. Sam Field, who had a really good run of form under Marty, has, until that second half against Sheffield United, looked like he's never seen a football before. And yeah, that one's a really hard one to explain. And the biggest sort of question is, who is the pairing with him? Jack Colback started with him against West Brom. They both were sort of occupying a lot of the same spaces, and it left us very vulnerable in the middle. Jonathan Varane paired with him on Saturday, and as I said, he looks like he's sort of struggling with the sort of physicality of the league at the moment. And then, of course, Jack Colback got himself sent off in the second half of Sheffield United for 2 yellow cards in 4 minutes for complaining to the fourth official, which is really not ideal. So that centre midfield is a bit of a concern for me at the moment, and I think we need to either bring in another sign in there or find a pairing that sticks. But yeah, ahead of them, wide players, I think Saito and Dembele will both come into the starting lineup on Saturday. We have a bit of a question about what we're going to do in the sort of number 10 role, because Lucas Anderson did go off injured on Saturday. That did result in Dembele being pushed into the middle, Paul Smith being brought on, and then he was the right winger. And then the strikers is a real interesting one at the moment. As you said, Jan Seller started the first game. Then Mickey Frey came in for the Cambridge game, and then he started on Saturday as well. But of course, both of the other 2 strikers, Lyndon Dykes, got on the pitch on Saturday, and then he finds the 88th minute equaliser. So at the moment, it doesn't really feel like any of those 3 strikers are pushing ahead of anyone in particular to sort of make it their own position. But quite positive that 2 of the 3 have scored already.
It sounds like you're in quite a similar position to us, to be honest, in many ways. But you coasted to survival last season, and we only just scraped it, and we'd probably take the same situation again. What about you guys? What are your hopes? What's the general consensus for where you're hoping to, what you're aiming for this season?
I mean, the vibes were very strong come the end of the season under Marty. We had an excellent sort of 2024 so far. Really turned the corner from sort of late January onwards, and it still went fairly close. We didn't confirm survival until the second to last game, which was the 4-0 win against Leeds at home. But yeah,
Yes,
the vibes were.
I remember it well.
I
Like,
think I'm just going to try and
everybody's
get.
winning. Stop it.
I think I'm just going to try and mention that result to as many as possible in these previews. But yeah, it still went close, but we ended in such strong form that a lot of our fans are really positive about where the club's heading, what we can achieve this season. Some, I think, maybe got a little bit carried away, hoping that, all right, we're going to be dark horses for the playoffs this time. I've never really seen that myself. But mid-table would be real progress for us. I know it's a real boring answer, but, after the last 2 seasons of being really quite down there and very close to the relegation zone, we just need a sort of, a season with a bit of excitement and then some boring parts as well, just to keep us steady the ship and give us a solid foundation going forwards. Another positive thing is, we've just sort of lost a very challenging year of the 3-year kind of cycle of FFP, and that gave us a little bit more wiggle room in what we can do financially. So I think this summer's been about making the right signings, using money from the couple of players that we've sold, like Sinclair Armstrong, sensibly, And I think if we could get that mid-table finish, then we could be really set for sort of some success in the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's nothing boring about mid-table finishes. I'd bite your hand off for a decade of Bristol City mediocrity right now. Survival in any way, shape, or form. Two more questions, if that's all right. Elias Kjaer is he had a back problem? Is that right? He's still out.
Yeah, he's got a back problem. He featured in the sort of first half of pre-season, and then disappeared with injury. But not to go too conspiracy theory, but it coincided with his sort of his court case issue being kind of reaching its conclusion, which was ended with him, getting a couple of 100 hours of community service. I Yeah, I mean, I don't imagine there's a world where the club come out and say he's doing community service. So I think injury would be the preferred answer. Um, yeah, it just seems a little strange to me because he's not a player that tends to pick up many injuries, and definitely not injuries that keep him out for a long time. But let's go with it. Let's go with the club line. Let's say injury for now. It looks like he's not going to be available for a while. And I think we've really missed him. I think it's definitely a positive to be playing him be playing us at this point without Chair. The excitement really for us is when he does come back from his absence. Now we've got these new wide players, him slotting in the middle of them. I think we could have a really exciting attack, which a few weeks ago, we weren't saying.
So he's not got a bad back. He's back in Antwerp picking up rubbish with his high vis jacket on. I see. Last question then, if that's all right. What's your prediction for the weekend?
I think for us, after a few kind of mixed results, I think the second half against Sheffield United is going to give this team a lot of confidence. I think now we've got these new exciting wide players. They're going to slot straight into the starting lineup and give us a lot more attacking impetus from the first whistle. So I do think it's going to be a QPR win. I'm going to go 3-1 QPR.
Fair enough. I'd expect nothing less. Feel free to plug your socials or anything now. Where can we all find your stuff at?
Yeah, thanks very much. So I'm Hoopsa on YouTube. So I post match previews, post-match reactions, and other championship content as well. So there should be some stuff of interest to Argyle fans. And it's Hoopsa YT on Twitter.
Thanks ever so much. Thanks for joining us, mate. All the best
Cheers.
after Saturday.
You too.